What's up everybody, welcome back to this channel. My name is Nixio and today we are going to talk about the Sony RX100 VII and we're going to build a studio around it. So to make use of this camera as your studio camera for your YouTube channel. Now by building a studio, I don't mean it is only for this camera. You can definitely use it for other point and shoot camera as well as your smartphone. So let's dive in. Now the first thing I want to talk about is the audio. Audio is so important. Just think of a movie without music. Everything is going to be dull. Although sometimes it will definitely build up the tension, but at the end of the day, using music and sound effect and good audio definitely make a huge improvement in terms of quality. So this is how important audio is. And sorry about my puppy is playing with his toys. It's super adorable. And you can always use the microphone on the Sony RX100 VII because it is already quite good. But if the case is you may want to sit further away, then you may need to speak up a little bit more. Not like so, but I'm just, But you can always use an external microphone. For example, like the one I'm using right here is the Rode Video Micro. It is one of the most popular microphones for content creators. And the fact of using a shotgun mic is going to be more directional and it will help to reduce some of the ambient noise. If the case is you are still going to sit quite far away, then you may need to consider something else. I would highly recommend using the Rode Wireless Go. It is by far the best microphone investment that I've ever made. The reason of that is the transmitter itself is already a microphone and it is super easy to use. You just need to switch on both the receiver and the transmitter and you are good to go. Just clip it on here and you got a lav mic and then you can walk around. Oops. Yeah, just make sure you wear some pants. Come here, baby. Yeah. Yeah, just like so. So the second thing I want to talk about is the positioning and mounting of your camera. I don't know whether you're aware of this or not, but I'm actually pointing my camera toward the corner of my apartment so that my cabinet and all my furniture can draw the lines toward me so that by unintentionally you are going to look at me. Maybe. Now speaking of tripod, you can always use something like a Joby Gorilla Pod or something like a bendy thing. But the fact of it is I don't always trust them because from time to time it will break and then it will just fall off. So I don't want to risk my camera on this stuff. So I tend to use. Can I say something? So let's try to get it done before my puppy finish me off. So when we talk about audio, I would say it contributes around 40% of the video experience. For some specialists, you may actually consider it as even more than that. But another factor is lighting, which now come to the third point. Lighting is so important as well. So of course, if you're on a budget, you can always shoot in daylight situation and using the sun coming through your window. And for better result, I would highly recommend you to get something like a curtain so that it can diffuse the light and make your skin looks more flattering so that it's more pleasant to look at. Now the best thing about using sunlight for shooting is, of course, it is for free. But then you may need to consider about the time when you actually shooting your video is going to be very important because if you don't have much daylight during winter, then you have a very short time window. So in that case, LED light is always going to help you a lot because you can actually shoot in midnight, and you can actually change the color temperature as you wishes, like so. Yeah, now we have labor prompt. So like this. The light I'm currently using is the Aperture F7. It is probably not the biggest light because you always want to have a bigger light source so that it can give you a more flattering effect on your skin. But what you can do with it is you can slightly diffuse it with something like this. And this is some sort of, I don't know how it's called EPE or some sort of foam that actually help to diffuse the light even more. So now I think the Aperture F7 looks pretty good. Now if you want to spice things up, you may actually want to use something like this. This is an RGB light from Bowling. Yeah, I think so. The product name itself is called Bowling BLP1. And the best thing about it is not only an RGB light, but it can actually change to a bicolor light like the one I'm using, like here, the Aperture F7. And yeah, I mean, with two lights, you can actually have a more dynamic and more contrasty look, so that to make things even more interesting. Now the best thing about this two light is the CRI rating or TLCI rating. Yeah, if you have no idea about this two rating, it is basically the color rendering rating. If the number is higher and closer to 100, means it is more truthful to the real color. This two itself is around like $100. If you don't have much budget, then just get one and get it diffused. This foam itself is only like less than 50 cents. Now let's turn this thing on and switch to RGB mode. So now here comes to the fifth or the fourth. I think it's the fourth. Yeah. The next thing is monitoring. As we are talking about the Sony RX100 VII, it does come with a flippy screen. But the only downside is when you're flipping it up, you can't really tell the f-stop or the setting, which is kind of sucks. So you may actually want to use a bigger monitor. You can always use your computer monitor as a huge monitor. And the best thing of it is you already have it. Or otherwise, you can consider something like this. This is the port key. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Should be this way. Something like this. Obviously, it is not as good as the Adamas Ninja or Shogun. Yeah. But the fact is, it does shows you the image, so I'm pretty happy with it. Now, the best thing of this monitor is it does come with a 3.5mm jack, so that you can play back your footage and listen to it carefully. So the last things come into not the most important thing, but it is your video setting and your camera. Normally, for most of the content creators, they tend to use 24p or 25p depending on which region you're living in. And then you can always shoot in 30 frames per second as well. Just make sure one thing, make sure you double, how do you say that? Make sure your shutter speed is double of your frame rate. Meaning, if I'm shooting in 24p or 25p, then my shutter speed should set to 1/48 to 1/50. If you're shooting 30 frames per second, then you may want to shoot your video with a shutter speed as 1/60. This is some sort of rules for videography, so to make sure that it provides a decent amount of motion blur, although we don't do much here. So that's it, guys. If you find any part of the video inspired you or actually valuable, or that there is something new to learn, please hit the like button, considering subscribing, and do make sure that you let me know what do you want to do next in my next video. I'll see you guys. Check in. Now, another very important note is the Sony RX100 VII doesn't come with a very big battery, so I would highly recommend you connect your camera to a portable charger like so.